he's done it again because we look. What a beautiful view!
Someone's been swamped.
The swamps of Washington D.C.
But you see a swan.
Where crocodile Swan comes out of those swamps with a knife in between his teeth, and he goes for the jugular of Republicans and Democrats alike.
Just asks a question that's pretty basic.
So Jonathan, we're just sitting around the table here going, we love your sort of, it's sort of the caveman lawyer routine, except it's like with an Australian accent. You know, I'm just from Australia. I don't understand this. Like you say this, but you do. It's just baffling to me. And I must say,
thank you, by the way.
What is
that was
so
a
great?
Great accent, Joe.
Thank you so much. You're kind of going like, wow, he's doing the South Sydney suburb thing. I know. It's incredible.
It was very, very nuanced regional dialect you pulled off. It's good.
So, you know, the thing is, though, is we've seen you do it time and again, but it makes us feel as uncomfortable as we felt when we saw Mike Wallace interview people back in the 1970s. I say we, just Richard and myself, because we're only people old enough to remember that. But you've done it to Trump. You've done it quite a lot of people. But the Mitch thing. The Mitch thing.
Let's play part of it.
Do you? Okay. Well, why don't we do that?
This is a
instead of
thing
me talking about it.
It's a freaking simple question.
She's been in the business. You can tell.
Yeah, for like 40 years. Jonathan, here's part of your interview with Mitch McConnell.
You are known for playing a ruthless style of politics. Where do you draw your moral red lines?
I didn't realize I was known for playing a ruthless. I thought my wife thinks I'm a really nice guy. My kids like me. I got a lot of friends.
That's 4 so far, okay.
I'm shocked to hear such a comment.
Let's just take as a premise, and I think the audience might agree with me, that there are some people, maybe some substantial people in this country who might agree with that assertion.
I'm sure you could find
some who could. Moral red
lines.
lines, where do you draw them?
I'm perfectly comfortable with the way I have conducted my political career, and I'd be happy to respond to any specificity you want to apply to the term. What was it?
Moral red lines.
Moral red line. Yeah.
Well,
I'm very comfortable with my moral red line.
Let me give you one specific. Help me understand this. I watched your speech last year in February on the Senate floor after the second impeachment vote on Donald Trump, and it was an extraordinary speech. You spoke very powerfully against the most powerful figure in your party, the president, and you said Donald Trump's actions preceding the January 6th insurrection were a, quote, disgraceful dereliction of duty, and that he was practically and morally responsible, your words, for provoking the events of that day. How do you go from saying that to 2 weeks later saying you'd absolutely support Donald Trump if he's the Republican nominee in 2024?
Well, as the Republican leader of the Senate, it should not be a front-page headline that I will support the Republican nominee for president.
After you've said that about him, I think it's astonishing.
I think I have an obligation to support the nominee of my party, and
is there anything they could do?
I will. That will mean that whoever the nominee is has gone out and earned the nomination.
Okay, but Donald Trump earned it last time, and I'm just trying to understand, what you say matters. You're a very important voice in this country. You're the leader of your party, and you seem to hold two concurrent, conflicted positions, which is
not at all inconsistent. Not at all inconsistent. I stand by everything I said
I understand, but
January 6th and everything I said on February the 13th.
I understand that, but what I want to understand, which I haven't heard you address, is
because I don't get to pick the Republican nominee for president. They're elected by the Republican voters all over the country.
I fully understand that, but take Liz Cheney, for example.
You want to spend some more time on this as well?
I actually do, because I actually, I genuinely want to understand this. I really want to understand how you think about this, because Liz Cheney, who has the same view of you as of January 6th, she said she doesn't want Donald Trump anywhere near the White House, and she's going to work to not make that happen, because she thinks that there are some things more important than party loyalty.
Yeah. Well, maybe you ought to be talking to Liz Cheney.
No, No, but I'm not trying to. I really, it's not a gotcha. I'm just actually trying to understand, like, is there any threshold for you of what is someone on a moral level?
I say many things I'm sure people don't understand.
Senator McConnell had no answer to that question, clearly, and good for you, Jonathan, for staying with it. You know, this contradiction is not unique to Mitch McConnell. People have written books in the last few months about how bad Donald Trump has been for the party, how they can help to change course. I'm thinking of Bill Barr, who wrote an entire book about what actually happened, the lies around the 2020 election on January 6th and everything else. And then when asked in those interviews about those books, well, would you support him again? They go, well, yeah, if he's the nominee of the party, I couldn't help but vote for him. It is a core contradiction right now in the Republican Party that they'd like to step away from Donald Trump, but as long as he holds the sway he holds, they don't seem to be able to.
Yes, but I think I'd put Mitch McConnell in a unique category, not just because he's the most powerful figure in the Republican Party, but if you go back, as I did, before I did this interview, I watched every piece of tape of Senator McConnell that I could find, every interview he's done, every floor speech he's done that I could get my hands on. And if you go back and watch the tape of him on January 6th and then February 13th last year, they are remarkable historical documents. He's a very controlled man. He controls his emotions, as you see there. He's disciplined, probably the most difficult interview subject I've ever tackled, because he's just immovable and refuses to answer questions. But in those speeches, you can actually see emotion under the surface. January 6th, clearly on the day anyway, affected him. And if you watch his February 13th speech, he speaks with, it's clear in his mind at that moment that he thought that Donald Trump was a cancer that needed to be cut out of the body of the Republican Party. He says that Donald Trump, his actions preceding January 6th were a disgraceful dereliction of duty, morally responsible. He gave a litany of Donald Trump's misdeeds. And then 2 weeks later, he went on a news program and was asked whether he'd support Donald Trump in 2024 as nominee, and just without even thinking said yes. And so I had never, bizarrely, a year has passed since then, and I've never seen him asked about that, which I find kind of weird. I mean, I've seen him asked about, like, what are you going to do on Build Back Better, or, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, okay, fine, you're not going to support Build Back Better. Like, you know, okay, forgive me, I don't really care that much. I know you're going to oppose Build Back Better. I want to know how you swear saying those things, because maybe, again, like, I'm not trying to be like glib or like play some, you know, as you said, caveman lawyer thing. I'm really actually, like, I find that fascinating. I think it's a vital question of public interest. I personally find it astonishing, because I don't see how it works. And the thing I said to him is, he has the identical view of January 6th that Liz Cheney has. Because he says he stands by everything he said that day, but they've reached entirely different conclusions. She, after that event, has dedicated her life to trying to, now, it may be a futile quest, she may lose, you know, that may happen, of course, but nonetheless, she has said, I'm going to do everything in my power to try and prevent this man being anywhere near the Oval Office. Mitch McConnell has reached the conclusion that if he's the nominee, I'll support him. And I just think he should be asked about that.
Yeah. By the way, there's a very good American accent you tried. What do you think about Build Back Better? Very good American accent. Again, give me props for my Australian accent.
Stupid, but okay.
I actually think what's so fascinating about this is that a lot of Republicans have gone half-hearted, where, oh, yes, you know, it wasn't great what happened on January. But you're exactly right. I mean, Mika, we've talked about this a good bit. I was moved by Mitch McConnell's speech on January the 6th.
Me too.
And actually more moved when I talked about people who were chased into the bunkers, because most everybody's like, let's go home, try this tomorrow. It was Mitch that had said, no, we're not going home. Over my dead body, we're going to get this vote today. Nobody is going to think for 1 second they delayed us from doing our duty. I thought it was a great moment.
But then he leaves it all there.
I thought it was a moment from the Republican Party that showed bravery, and I was really proud of him for doing it that day. That's why, Mika, it is such a contrast a couple weeks later to go, sure, I'd vote for this man.
So, Jonathan, you also pressed McConnell on his support for some Republican candidates who have questionable pasts, including those with allegations against them of domestic violence. Take a look.
Primary season's just beginning, and I'm pretty optimistic we're going to have what I would consider a fully electable nominee in every one of those states.
Well, you gave me 4 names. I have a few names for you. And I want to start with Eric Greitens, a candidate polls indicate could be your GOP nominee in Missouri. Greitens said, quote, "I want to tell you directly, Karl Rove and Mitch McConnell, hear me now. You are disgusting cowards, and we are coming for you. We are no longer going to allow you not just to attack me and my kids, but to destroy this country." Is this the sort of electability that you're looking for, Leader McConnell?
Yeah, I don't have any comment about that.
I mean, mind you, this is a man accused of tying a woman up, blindfolding her, taking nude photographs of her for the purposes of blackmail, then coercing her into sexual acts. Do you think he's electable?
I think the voters in the Missouri primary will take all of that into account.
It's a lot to take into account. Let's talk about a candidate you have talked about, Herschel Walker, the leading GOP candidate in the vital Senate race in Georgia. You endorsed him, yet his ex-wife says he pointed a pistol at her head and said, "I'm going to blow your effing brains out." And an ex-girlfriend has accused him of threatening her life. Why is he a suitable candidate?
Herschel Walker has addressed that issue repeatedly over the last 10 years. I think
It's a heck of an issue.
well, he admitted he had some troubles in his life. He's been an exemplary citizen in recent years. He's a hero in Georgia. Almost every candidate's had troubled periods.
I mean, I don't know that almost every candidate has pointed.
Look, I don't want to argue with it. I think Walker is completely electable. He's actually ahead at the beginning of this race, and we're fully behind him.
Wait. It makes sense. I mean, if you think Donald Trump is re-electable after supporting an assault on our democracy and having people tear through the Capitol, defecate all over the place, and try and find Nancy Pelosi and the vice president to murder them, then I guess his answer makes sense, Jonathan Swan.
Well, and Jonathan, a lot of groans around the table here when Mitch said, well, a lot of candidates have challenges.
Ugh.
The challenges word would be an understatement for if you look through the bill of particulars against Herschel Walker. And what was interesting to me, one of the reasons I thought that line of questioning was interesting is at the time last year when the Associated Press published a very detailed and damning story about Walker's history of violent threats against women, Senator McConnell's top political operative on the outside, Josh Holmes, tweeted out that story and said, you know, I've never seen, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen in terms of against the candidate. And so that seemed to signal that McConnell world, if not McConnell himself, were very uncomfortable with his candidacy. Obviously, Donald Trump endorsed Walker, and then McConnell made a decision to endorse him, and he's now a prohibitive favorite. Obviously, he's going to be the GOP nominee in Georgia. So what I tried to get out of that line of questioning was, what was your thought process after absorbing those allegations for deciding that he was someone that you were comfortable putting your name against? And I think the other reason this line of questioning I think is of public interest is McConnell has a riff that he gives, which is his history lesson is the 2012 election. He says that is an election where we should have won the majority. We didn't because we had unelectable candidates. And he lists the names like he did yesterday for me. Christine O'Donnell, she was the woman who said she wasn't a witch. Todd Aiken, remember, legitimate rape, etc. And McConnell said, so we had to change the business model. We had to get involved and we had to root out these unelectable candidates. And the obvious follow-up is, well, here are two races. You've said they're two vital races, Missouri and Georgia, and you have one candidate with the blindfolding and the tying up and the nude photographs and telling you you're a disgusting coward. And you have the other one who an ex-girlfriend and an ex-wife have accused of threatening his life. And he himself has said, Herschel Walker, that he's accountable for this stuff. So, again, I think fair questions and I think vital questions, actually.
Vital questions, as always. National political reporter for Axios, Jonathan Swan. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Nice work.
Elise, if you look at what's happening, people at home are going, wait, what in the world? How can he hold these two diametrically opposed views? I think that was the biggest shock in Washington for me, and I think for you probably as a lifelong Republican, seeing people that we had known and worked with and thought we knew, who immediately first of all, they hated Donald Trump. The second he got the nomination, they loved Donald Trump. And if you didn't love Donald Trump, if you didn't go along with this and get on that hijacked plane, that you were somehow a traitor, you were somehow no longer conservative. And they just define being conservative, they just define being loyal by following the person's power. That's like Ginny Thomas, right? So Ginny Thomas is supposed to be like this crazy, like radical. When I worked on the Hill, Ginny Thomas was the establishment player of all establishment players. It just so happened that Dick Armey, she worked for Dick Armey, and he had power. So Ginny Thomas was loyal to power, and anybody that pushed for balanced budgets, and like anybody that didn't do exactly what the leadership wanted to do, they were the ones that were disloyal. These people, Matt Schlapp. When I met Matt Schlapp, my opinion of Matt was, he's such a Bush loyalist. I mean, oh my God, he's such a party insider. And now he's like, I'm radical, Matt. No, he's not. All of these people, they're just chasing power. And it's disappointing. It's disorienting.
You're right. It's obedience to power and following the power and staying with the power. And how is this justifiable? They look at Mitch McConnell and they say he got us the Supreme Court justices. And Supreme Court justices, that's what matters at the end of the day to the Republican base and to Republican loyalists who will go along for the ride, for the Trump ride.
And there's deep concern among Republicans, as you both know, in the state of Georgia about Herschel Walker, that he may win the nomination in May.
That's amazing.
But when all this comes out, because as Jonathan pointed out, the domestic violence accusations are horrific. When you read through them, and that may be, he's got all these other problems. He was concerned the other day that NATO was not supporting Ukraine, for example. He's not doing public events, really. He's not doing media. He won't debate anybody. It's sort of a run from the basement, run on your name recognition. But it comes back to the reason that Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson yesterday was confirmed.
I was just going to say,
is
right there.
Because they lost the Senate in Georgia because Donald Trump backed the wrong candidates.
This happened because of Donald Trump. History was made because Donald Trump went into Georgia and purposely threw that race for the Democrats. Now,